Now I want to share about the semantic. Did you ever heard about semantic? Semantic is the area of linguistics that analyzes the meaning of words, phrases, and sentences in language. So, semantic is the systematic study of meaning, and linguistics semantic is the study of how language organize and express meaning. So we can conclude that semantic is the study of meaning. All the words mentioned before and the concept that we link to them have a meaning, and meaning have three principles such as psychology, philosophy, and linguistics. So, psychology are interested in how individual humans learn, how they recall, retain, or lose information, and how they classify, make judgment, and solve problems. Philosophy of language are concerned with how we know how any particular fact that we know or accept as true is related to others possible fact. And linguistics is wants to understand how language works, just what common knowledge do two people possess when they share a language. The nature of language. As we know, all animals have some system for communicating with other members of their species, but only humans have a language which allows them to produce and understand ever new messages and to do so without any outside stimulus. An utterance consists of words in a particular sequence, and a word consists of sound units or morphemes in a particular order. All humans, so yet, uh, I mean, all human societies have language, and contrary to some popular but unfounded opinions, every known language is complex and subtle, capable of expressing whatever its speakers need to express, and capable of changing to meet the changing needs to the speaker. We know the language. Uh, we know the language, but we do not fully know what we know. We know in the sense that we successfully communicate our intention to others, and we correctly interpret what others tells us. We know how to use the language, but we are not likely to be cognizant of the multiple meanings that common words can have. It means we use language every day, but we do not know what the meaning of the language uh, when we use it. And when we communicate to each other, we know to interpret the what they say, and actually we do not know what the meaning of that word, and we have to know how to combine the vocabulary items into utterances that will carry meaning for others, and we have to grasp the meanings of complex utterances that others produce. A sign is meaningful to us only if we perceive, identify, and interpret. So, a language is a system of symbols through which people communicate. The symbol may be spoken, written, and signed with the hands. And then people use the language to communicate to each other. It constitutes a society, and language community. Language is only one common activities of society too. So for this natural signs, like footprint, as we know, footprint is a natural science, and it weakened result of a foot treading on a soft surface, and it can communicate a message. That the owner of the foot was recently there to anyone who observed it. When we are familiar with others' natural signs, and we see smoke and know that there is a fire, and or a fire has just gone gone out. And for the conventional sign, in modern life, we are likely to be less concerned with natural signs, and then with conventional signs such as horns, bells, sirens, or whistle, the auditory and visual advices that people have created to send routine messages to one another. Like in Unai, every day we heard bells for worship, for breakfast, and other. So this is the conventional sign, and conventional sign is created by humans. Semantic features are categories that allow us to classify the meaning of word. The dimension of word. Anything meaningful in language is linguistic expressions. Linguistic expressions may be of various length. We recognize three units of meanings, such as morpheme is which may less than word, and then lexims, roughly words and idioms, and sentences. Reference and denotation. In every language, there are words like tree and run and red, which seems to have an obvious relation to object and events and descriptions of things in the world around us. As we know, children learning their native language first learn words in association with observable items and situations and events. For example, when she or he heard mom or other people like let's eat or take a bath, and the children will recognize the word eat, and then uh, she or he will try to speak about it. Connotation. This is, for example, a sentence. The word dog has a certain denotation. This dog is a Dalmatian. My children have just acquired a dog. Several dogs were fighting over a bone. Connotations refers to the personal aspect of meaning, the emotional associations that the word arouses. So, the meaning of dog includes the attitudes of a society and of individuals, the pragmatic aspect. And then it will be wrong to think that a purely biological definition of the lexeme dog and definition of lexeme dog is sufficient account of its meaning. And a denotation identifies the central aspects of word meaning, which everybody generally agrees about that. Lexical ambiguity. I was on my way to the bank. Ambiguity is not likely to be sustained in a longer discourse. So it means a following utterances, for example, is likely to carry information about depositing or withdrawing money on the one hand or on the other hand, and fishing or booting. If two homonyms can occur in the same place in utterance, this is a lexical ambiguity. Maybe some of you have experience about ambiguity. The notion that every word has a single meaning and every meaning is expressed by just one word is utterly wrong and an obstacle to recognizing the complexities in meaningful expressions and in the meanings expressed. Two or more forms that are identical in speech but have different meanings are homonyms. So we know what the difference of homonym with what the meaning of homonyms. Okay, now about the semantic roles. The semantic roles are properties that the nouns phrases have according to their meaning inside the sentence. So, this semantic roles have a proposition, and a proposition is something abstract but have meaningful, and it can be expressed in different sentences in a parts of sentences, perhaps with differences of focus but always with the same basic meaning. We call compare these language expressions. We walk in the park, our walk in the park, for us to walk in the park. So for this sentence, we call the first sentence 1A is a complete sentence, because in writing we begin with a capital letter and the end sentence we use a period, and we say the other two are not complete sentence because uh, there there are there is no capital letter and period, and we can say this sentence uh, the old sentence have a expression and have the same semantic content and the same relation to an action or possible action performed in a certain place by two or more people, and the difference is grammatical. The first expression asserts something, makes a statement. The other two expressions can be part of statement of the instant. So the semantic analysis deals with meaning. The proposition expressed in the sentence not necessary with all the function words in the sentence. When inflection, including tense, is separate from proposition, we see that the forms of the verb be such as am, is, are, was, and were. There is no meaning. They are clearly part of the syntactic structure of sentences, but not of the semantic structure. An inflection includes tense, the distinction between present work and past work. For instance, an aspect are working, have worked, and modality may work, could work, should work, among the other possibilities. Lexical relations. Lexical relations have two types, such as semantic field theory and truth conditional semantics. And lexical semantic field theory and attempts to classify lexemes according to a shared and differentiating features. For example, was, heard, be. And entomologists develop a careful classification on a scientific basis, but semantics often need to pay more attention to folk taxonomy, the traditional ways in which non-scientists classify the phenomena of their world. And truth conditional semantics is by comparing predication that can be made about the same referring expression. The truth conditional semantics have three relations, such as entailment, paraphrase, and contradiction. So entailment is the relation between two propositions, and let's label them P and Q. So we have to analyze this label. So if P is true, Q must also be true. But if Q is true, it doesn't necessarily follows that P is true. If it is true that my necktie maroon, is it true that my necktie is maroon? And paraphrase is the relation between two propositions, like the label entitlement, P and Q. If either is true, the other is necessarily true. Necessary true also. And if either false, the other is false. And if it is true that my necktie was cheap, is it true or false that my necktie was expensive? So for contradiction is the relation between two propositions such as that if either is the true, the other is necessarily false. Hyponymy. Turning now to truth conditional semantics. Let's consider these pairs of sentences. So here we see a kind of relation that is an example of entitlement. If we know that sentence 1a Raver is a collie is true, we know that 1b must be also be true. But if we know that 1a is not true, we cannot say anything about the truth of 1b. If we know that 1b is true, we do not know if 1a is true or not. And if we know that 1b is not true, we know that 1a is not true. And the relationship between 2a and 2b is analogous. The term of collie is a hyponym of dog, and tulip is a hyponym of flower. Dog and flower are respectively the superordinates of collie and tulip. And we can say also a collie is a dog and a tulip is a flower. Any lexeme that can be substitute for hyponym is also a hyponym. Hyponym inclusion, superordinate or hyperonyms. Color such as blue, green, yellow, and purple. This is a hyponyms. And synonym. This is our basis for establishing that shaman and sailor. Assuming that refer to the same person in the two sentences, then if A is true and B is true, if B is true, A is true, and if either is false, the other is false. This is our basis for establishing that shaman and sailor. So when we use in predication with the same referring expression, the predication have the same truth value. And then the synonym can be noun and adjective and adverb or verbs. Antonymy is the opposite of in meaning, and when they are occur as predicate of the same subject, the predications are contradictory. Antonym may be nouns like communist and non-communist. So, antonyms have two types, like gradable antonyms refer to contrary adjectives such as big or small, and while non-gradable antonyms refer to those words that don't allow comparison. However, they have a complementary word, such as alive and died. Kinship. Kinship system make an interesting area for componential analysis. Kinship is universal since all humans are related to other humans through blood ties and through marriage, but kinship systems differ from society to society. A relationship is kind of predicate. A relationship is kind of predicate. Kinship system make an interesting area for componential analysis. Harold is Eli's father and Rose is Jerry's sister. So this is the relationship with blood. Kinship. Harold, fathers of Elias. Harold is a team, father of predicate, associate is Alice, and Rose, team, predicate, sister of, and associate is Jerry. So, speech aid. Language has many purposes in life. We use language for expressing our feelings, asking questions, and speech aid is language seems to have many different functions, as there are occasions for using language, but for all the apparent diversity, the basis of language are rather limited. We need to learn 7 different kinds of utterances or speech aids, classified according to their general purposes. And syntactically, it is common to recognize 3 sentence types in English: statements or declarative, command or imperative, and questions interrogative. Analysis speech act. Distinguish 3 things. Locution is the same of the utterances. Elocution is the speaker in turn communicate to the addresses. Perlocution is the message the address gets. Interpretation of the speaker says. And this is the factors of maxim. The maxims of quantity, the maxims of relevance, the maxims of manner, and the maxims of quality. So, about the maxim of quantity, it's the meaning of the speaker gives as much information as the address needs, but no more. The speaker must have some sense of what the address knows and needs to know. For example, what time is it now? And another person will say, this is the 3 o'clock. and the speaker is expecting and accept the answer. So the maxim of relevance. The maxim of relevance is it requires the speakers to make utterances relative to the discourse going on, the context in which they occur. The speaker try to be relevant and say things that they are pertinent to the discussions. For example, how was your day? It was great. And for the maxims of manner, it is to be orderly and clear and to avoid ambiguity. If you ask questions to someone and they reply that you received seems strangely obscure, your interlocutor is either a disorganized individual or is deliberately avoiding a straight answer. And for this example is, I just bought this new dress. How do I look? Wow, you look gorgeous. And for the quality, the maxim of quality is to say only what one believes to be true. Question and request cannot be either true or false. So this maxim apply only to the giving of information in the kind of speech aid that we call assertive. For example, have you seen my blue folder? And it's in your reading room. Non-observance of maxim. Floating a maxim. It is occurs when the speaker does not have any intention deceiving or misleading. Violating a maxim is when they try to mislead the hearer. Infringing a maxim is the speaker refuses to collaborate due to legal or ethical reason. Suspending a maxim is speaker cover up something because of their awareness of their situation. Speech aids, kinds of speech aids. Number one is assertive utterances. Assertive language is concerned with fact. The purpose is to inform. For example, I voted for Aaron in the last election. B. Most plastics are made from soybeans. Focus on information and nouns. Declare focus on truth values of utterances affirm, swear, attest, and focus on speakers' commitment. Confide, deny, protest, profess. Focus on manner of communicating, emphasize. So, these assertive utterances function speaker and writer use language to tell us what they know or believe. Assertive language is concerned with the fact, like I said before, and this is the purpose of to infer. Second is performative utterances. Performative utterances, speech acts that bring about the state of affairs they name. Speech acts. This is the performative utterances are valid if spoken by someone whose right to make them is acceptable or accepted and in circumstance. And naturally, there are strong limitations on what can be performative utterances. First, the subject of the sentence must be I or we. He declares this meeting adjourned, and is not a performative utterance. And second is the verb must be in the present tense, and perhaps most important to speaker in the must be recognized as having the authority to make the statement, and the circumstances must be appropriate. For example, is I pronounce you man and wife, and I declare this a mystery, are valid only if spoken by an appropriate person in socially determined situation. Third is verdictive utterance. Speech act in which the speaker makes an assessment or judgment about the acts of another, usually the address. So from the example, I accuse you of putting on airs. I congratulate you for performing so well. The mayor blamed the media for not accurately reporting his accomplishment. So the sentence A and B are verdictive utterances, and sentence C is the report of verdictive utterances. So verdictive utterances are speech acts that bring in which the speaker makes assessment and judgment about the act of another, usually the addresses. These include in ranking, assessing, appraising, and condoning. Directive utterance are those in which the speaker tries to get the address perform some act or refrain from performing an act. So, three kinds of directive utterances: command, request, and suggest. So, commands is effective only if the speaker has some degree of control over the action of the addresses. For example, don't waste your time on that. And the request is an expression of what the speaker wants the address to do or refrain from doing. And a request does not assume the speaker's control over the person addressed. For example, we beg you to stay out of the way. And suggestions is the utterance we make to other persons to give our opinions as to what they should or should not do. For example, we suggest you pay more attention to what you are reading. Commissive utterance. Speech acts that commit a speaker to a course of action. Commissive verbs are illustrated by agree, ask, offer, refuse, swear, all with following infinitive. For example, I promise to be on time. We volunteer to put up the decoration for the dance. Expressive utterances. An expressive utterance springs from the previous actions or failure to act the speaker. Expressive utterances are thus retrospective and speaker involved. So, whereas a utterances is about what the address has previously done. An expressive utterance spring from the previous action or failure action. For example, we admit that we were mistaken. I apologize for having disturbed you. So this is the expressive utterance. What the speakers spring from the previous action. And felicity conditions are similar to those for predictive utterances. The act was feasible and the speaker was capable of it. So the speaker speaks sincerely and the address believes it. Pathetic utterance. The purpose is to establish a rapport or relationship between members of the society. Include greetings, farewells, polite formulas such as thank you and you are welcome. Aspect. Aspect is both grammatical and lexical. It is expressed in predicates, especially in verb, inflections, and collocation of verb. It's begin to break, it's breaking, it's broke, and it's broken. The semantic nature of predicate often has something to do with the aspect it expresses. Achievement and accomplishment are telic. The former are punctual, with the endpoint of the activity occurring instantaneously. So, generic and specific predication. Aspect is expressed primarily in the predicates of sentence, but there are certain similar ideas. For example, Roy seems happy. This is the eternal truth. Rabbits are rodents. This is the temporary state. So, sentence 1 and B, eternal truth. Statement about the things we do not expect to change. They report unbound situation or state Statement B, on the other hand, are about temporary state. So, reference and aspect are similar in some ways. Referring expressions are noun process, and aspect is expressed primarily in the predicate of sentence, but there are certain similarities. Just we distinguish between generic and non-generic reference. And stative predication relates a situation that does not change during the time when the predication is valid. The following are stative verbs such as abhor, adore, desire, enjoy, envy, fear, hate, like, long for, mind, prefer, regret, want, wish. And some predicates express the beginning, aggressive aspect, the continuation or continuative aspect, and aggressive aspect of state. Aggressive, continuative, aggressive aspect, such as predicate of location. So, predicate of location, for example, the lamp is on the table. In this sentence, on, in, and at are two arguments predicates, but for this sentence, we use on. So other locative propositions such as above, beside, near, next to, and under are also two argument predicates. So predicate of possession. Similar to locative expressions, its name expressions of possession. So for example, Angga has owned a car. We express the aggressive, continuative, and aggressive aspect of the possessing with the verb illustrated in the next group of sentences. And the third is predicates of cognition. This is the third group of stative verb expresses various aspects of knowing, and this is the cognition predicate. Lina forgets the answer. So again, there are ways of telling the beginning, middle, and the end of this situation. And four is event predicate. For example, our party is on Sunday. So just on as concrete entities, we have a location in space. Events are located in time, as the next sentences is illustrate. This sentence have the structure event plus locative, predicate plus time, and a time process can be added to almost any sentence, including most of those cited in the last we can cite from the another example. Noun and adjective as predicate For example, we were awfully tired. This is the aggressive. The face stayed intact. This is continuative. And the last one is aspect verbs. This, for example, the meeting is beginning now. For the when we an aspect verb occurs in a sentence, the subject may be an even noun, in which case there is no other arguments. Thus, there is like to be some expression of time. And some grammatical expression. Number one is the prospective. This is example of sentence illustrate a prospective form. Dare to live. So the formula is be plus 2 plus verb expressions. So this form it is not about the future but about the present intention regarding the future. There are other perspective forms. Be about to or live and be going to live. And the second is about the perfect or retrogressive. This description of present situation when we want to measure their duration from some point in the past. And the second is the present retrospective is used for past events or states which are presented as relevant to the present. And the last one is the progressive. For example, we are watching television. So the formula is be plus ing or continuous or durative or ongoing. So some predicates express the beginning, and certain verbs followed by the infinitive clause are prospective. They express a meaning that is necessarily previous to the proposition in the infinitive clause. And other verbs followed by a gerund clause are retrospective and express a looking back at the content of the gerund clause. So English also has grammatical means of indicating prospective aspect. And the most common form is composed of be plus the infinitive, and the grammatical means of expressing retrospection and has the traditional name perfect and consists of form of have plus the past participle. So this is grammatical form is used in telling the duration of state up to a present or past moment and in recounting events that are seems as relevant as to such as a moment. So I think that's all about the semantic. Thank you.